organization, men and women, we never stop.
Particular ranking system.
We never stop. We don't sleep. We don't sleep.
I welcome each of you here in this summit, and I thank you for celebrating your essence with us today. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Hero Ed TV. This pandemic has underscored inequities that cannot be ignored. This is the best time for educators to share their stories and support each other in a way that builds communities like what we haven't seen before. At Hero Ed TV, we aspire to share nuggets of inspiration and reflections for every conversation with education leaders so that this community has a greater appreciation for just how hard it is to educate a student, but also how important and crucial investments in education are for our future. Ladies and gentlemen, Hero Ed TV is the official Hero Summit TV station broadcasting through the internet. It carries original weekly series of live conversations and interviews hosted by your chair and yours truly with the dynamic support from our President for International Partnerships, Mr. Nico Chopra, and given also the unbridled support of all our Hero founding members and members coming from the academe in different regions of the world. This afternoon is very special for Hero Ed TV because we have a special guest, an education leader for almost 33 years. He was the former Chancellor of Don Mariano Memorial State University, La Union Campus. He is currently the graduate professor, graduate school dean. He's a researcher and mostly on the development for administration and programming. He finished a PhD in development administration and education management. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to welcome here at Hero Ed TV, Dr. Paulito Nisperos. Hi, Doc.
Hello, Bryce. Thank you very much for the invitation.
It's an honor.
Good afternoon, everyone, to those who are watching live on Facebook or your streaming. Thank you again for the invitation, Bryce.
Wonderful, wonderful to have your yes. I always ask the yes question, Doc, and you are the second who said yes to me this month for this particular series. So thank you.
Yes, I thought you're inviting me to watch your shows. I said yes. Then several days ago you said I'm guessing on your program. So I was about to say no, but how could I say no to a very good friend, right?
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes.
I appreciate that. And I know you can help us out with the reflections that we need for this conversation, Doc. The subject line for this conversation, as I plugged it as a heart-to-heart conversation with you, is a reflection on what COVID-19 taught us. What did it teach us in strengthening our educational system? So I'd like to hit my first question right off, Doc, if you don't mind. Um, like you've been an educator and a member of all of this learning and educating dynamics for 33 years. That's more than a decade of your, more than 3 decades of your life already. And definitely you've seen a lot, you've seen developments, you've seen growth, you've seen stagnation somewhere maybe, or some problems along the way. Now my question, given where we are right now, are we now seeing the death of schools? Is this the time that we're no longer needing schools to learn? Have we come to that time, Doc?
Oh, I'll answer that in two perspectives. The one I got it from friends,
Mm-hmm.
and the one that probably I'm thinking, right? Well, I'll start with one I got from my friends, because most of them are tutoring their kids at home.
All right.
That's why they joke about you're going to close the school because they themselves are teaching their children.
Mm-hmm.
But that is actually it was a joke. I did because it was very tedious for them, right? They have to go to work, and then when they go home, they have to tutor the kids, because most of the department of the DepEd's program is on modules. That's why they really have to tutor them. They have to sit down with these kids.
Right.
Another thing is that there are some schools, right, the private schools, who would they would not allow, if say for example online learning, right?
Right.
They would not allow their kids, the students rather, the pupils, to be learning with the teacher if the parents not with them. So
Right.
that's actually too tiresome and too burdensome for many of them. That's why they're saying the school's probably dying because they are the teachers themselves. But in a more serious way of looking at the question you threw at me, it's more of you see the change, the changing need,
Mm-hmm.
and the demand of learners,
Mm-hmm.
as well as the availability of the new infrastructures that are way too different from the traditional provided by an alternative landscape in learning.
Right. Right.
Definitely, right? At present, schooling or attending school is not anymore limited to the four-cornered classroom.
Exactly.
There is what you call this the virtual classroom already. There is the ubiquitous, you did mention a while back, no?
Right.
The ubiquitous learning. And the World Wide Web offers a huge variety of learning platforms
Right.
and learning websites. Even books and other printed materials that you can find in the library have already been, I guess, digitized.
Mm-hmm.
And teachers are now substituted with the artificially intelligent bots. I don't know if you're familiar with that. The short for robots, or the internet robots. Like, for example, your iOS phone, this one, you say, "Hey Siri," right? And then it would answer you. They have also the chatbots like the Cortana of Microsoft. I don't know if you say Bixby or Bixby. I don't know how to pronounce this one.
Right.
These are all available already at the click of our fingers on the internet and the World Wide Web.
Right.
If not also for the self-paced, right, learning. So probably we look at that, but I believe schools are not dying. We're not ending schools. Schools is actually the instrument where I would say it shapes humanity. It gives dignity to the projects of the government, if I may speak for
Mm-hmm.
development.
But
Learning can now take place. Yes, Doc.
yeah, yeah. I was referring to like the physical schools. Would we still need to go to the physical schools to learn?
Not necessary. As I was saying, right? There are already. It's the schools are not limited to the four corners of the classroom.
Right.
There is this virtual classroom which we are in at this time because the imposition of the different ways of quarantine and then containment measures from the spread of the COVID, the schools are not allowed to open at this time. But if I may speak as a teacher, if I may speak as a routine teacher, if I can call that one,
Mm-hmm.
I guess I am not really probably to say 100% sold to the idea that we can really learn learn online or via this one, because it's still different when you meet your classes and then you have these things. But we have to face reality of Rice that
Right.
it's the in thing now, right? I mean,
Right.
who wouldn't, right? And schools and school leaders, um, administrators even have to embrace this new normal, as they say, and probably change the landscape of education, blend together with what is at hand, what we learn from our experiences in the classroom, and blend it with the new technology that we have in order that we will be able to, cut through with education and
Right.
delivering the learning that's necessary for our pupils and students. But definitely, I would say, right, um, we're not seeing yet the death of schools.
Okay.
In the future, probably, Bryce, I don't know if you agree with me, formal education will always be inside the four corners of the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
The use of technology in delivering would just be probably an enhancement or another alternative for Lucas Polygon. But definitely yes, no. As educator, even I am aged already in the academic,
Mm-hmm.
I have to learn the new ways of delivering classes. No?
Mm-hmm.
I have not to start to tell you that the
Mm-hmm.
first time that the country went on a lockdown.
Right.
If I may speak for the graduate school, because I teach there, usually we teach for 18 Saturdays or 18 meetings.
Mm-hmm.
And exactly when the government imposed the total lockdown in the part of Luzon, we were in our ninth meeting, and that's the midterm already.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought that the quarantine would only last for, say, a week,
Right.
but it went on weeks, right? And then we were waiting what to do, because graduate school is different. And then here comes the mandate of the Department of Education. Although we are not under the Department of Education, but basic education, you always listen to see on television, right?
Right.
They did not resume, but rather, correct me if I'm wrong, if I was mistaken for the information, but they really have to find ways to reach out.
Mm-hmm.
And then the university started telling us that we find ways to reach out to our students. So we're caught off hand really. We're not, to be honest with you, Bryce, we were not prepared for that one. We did not see it coming. We were, we don't know what really to do. That's why we had series of meetings. Even our meetings, we have to do it through text messaging.
Right.
And we learn about the video conferencing on the using the messenger, but it's only limited to 6 individuals.
Right.
So,
Right.
until of course Zoom came in, right, and there. Although it's still a bit struggling, many of us are struggling to use the technology, but I guess we are coping,
Mm-hmm.
because that is what we're supposed to be doing, embracing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's my thought.
Right.
It's the online thing, or what we're doing now. This may be the present situation and setup, but definitely, right? When, say for example, it's safe already to go back to school,
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's still safe, but there. We shape our future in the classroom.
Right.
Although education is not limited to that, I know that.
Right.
Definitely, a lot of people agree with me that you can get it by experience. You can get anywhere. You open your browser, you open your the internet, and everything is there, right? But then teachers will always be teachers, and they will always be there to guide and shape the future of these children.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that, Doc. Though there had been there had been a lot of new thoughts coming from different education supporters and, let's say, advocates, saying that 3 to 5 years the landscape will totally change. It's gonna be ubiquitous, and it's we cannot avoid that. And teachers had to reinvent themselves, right? I've attended a Harvard LinkedIn webinar just recently, and this was their main issue. Actually, they were discussing this thoroughly, and we've been listening to different ideas. and I got inspired from from that conversation. So I'm bringing the question in our conversation right now. Personally, maybe the physical school with our exposure to the physical school would definitely um, experience a dramatic change.
It could
Right.
lessen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it would definitely lessen time-wise and all of that. We can start with the blended kind of flexible, like how we're doing it or how we started doing. And maybe
yes,
until such time that, everything will be like Coursera or Udemy kind of thing. That it's now served at your time, on your own pace, etc. And teachers would only be kind of consultants and counselors and nurturers, as we call it. So it's not gonna be them teaching. The word teaching will not be there. They will nurture you, support you, and guide you. So it's more of taking another role, maybe. That
yes,
is
yes.
what the discussions are there in that kind of projection on the scenarios happening. So yeah, thank you. I like your thought about this one.
As I was saying a while back, if I may, I just like to add a bit of that,
Right.
if I may. Now, that this change made schools to become an option or a sole, it's actually the avenue for learning. But because of the presence of the internet and the others, no, it's just one of the options, but definitely will always be the primary institution where we, learn something. Um, but nonetheless, right, if you are seeing the death of schools like with that particular issue alone, I guess, uh, no, it might have just probably slowed down a bit for because of the competition rather,
Right.
brought about by the advancement of the computing technology.
Right.
But if, say, for example, if schools can maneuver the blending of this advancing technology and that of the proven effective traditional approach, I guess this could be a gleaming success for education.
All right, right. Agree. I agree with you. I agree with you. And if that happens, can you imagine the environmental effect as well, right?
Definitely, right.
Right. So it will have a lot of impact as well. I mean, at least on the environment. I see that. I see our environment being, lesser cars on the street, things like this. So it's good. And at the same time, the hazard as well for students going out, knowing that this pandemic is not yet over. We're having another strand, as they're saying. So, we don't know when everything ends, really. So anyway, thank you for that talk. Now that we're still here, I'm not using the new normal word or phrase myself because I think we're not yet in the new normal. We're transitioning to the new future, but the new normal is still, you know, um, a future scenario for me. How now should schools behave as we continue to traverse the unknown? How should we behaving right now, Doc?
Oh,
As a school,
like
as an organization, yes.
well, like any other person, when you are confronted with many unprecedented circumstances,
Right.
one should know how to behave in order to adapt or, shall we say, cope with the changing times
Mm-hmm.
and the events that happen, for example, in our lives, right? So schools needs to be responsive just the same.
All right.
The changing needs and demands of education is actually challenging schools right now on
Right.
how to maintain its effectiveness in ensuring quality under any circumstance, despite time constraints and various adversities. The behavior of the community even we are serving, like for example, the students or clients, right,
Mm-hmm.
changes the resources as well as the infrastructures available
Right.
that we need to upgrade or, you know, upgrade it. Like for example, in the graduate school, uh, our subscription for internet is just basic. Then we started, conducting classes online. So we have to call the company PLDT so we can upgrade our subscription to a corporate one so they could give us a faster connection, a
Right.
more stable one, so we were able to deliver our classes because definitely as I said, it's not more of a module because the graduate school is a regular school. in our university, we have the Open University where they use the distance open distance learning, and
Yes.
not to duplicate it. And we thought of, we meet our classes regularly just the same via online. Just like we are inside the classroom, they are also inside the classroom. So, however, now our technology is so, the connection is so poor. That's why we really have to pressure the PLDT to, upgrade our subscription, and I guess they are installing right now. Now, it's not only those things, but we have also checked the contents of the undergo the modification of our curriculum, the syllabi, of course, the syllabus, and including updating our surroundings. Okay. Therefore, schools need to be, as I said, no, schools need to be responsive in addressing this, or else they will be left behind, or worse, they might get lost in the system, which is quite alarming, and we don't like that.
Right.
Okay, the new normal is beckoning us to foster the essential skills that can help us adapt to and succeed in an uncertain future. One thing that the pandemic has instilled and prompted us is to have the skills of flexibility,
Right.
adaptability, and most important is the empathy to confront the unknown.
I agree with that.
You agree with me, Bryce?
Yeah, I agree with that. I like I like that you mentioned the word empathy. Speaking of empathy, Doc, when you did all of this, adjustments and all of these changes, accommodation and everything, were there a voice coming from the students? Were they represented in the implementation of the new ways of doing things? I was just curious.
Yes, definitely, Bryce. I don't know if we were criticized for that, because the graduate school said it is just like we pretend that it's normal, right? That
Right.
we meet our classes but online, right? So we have to open your camera, your browser, and your camera. But definitely, we over the days that we were instituting that one, we experienced some students' attendance going down, or slowing down.
All right.
Why? Because they don't have connection. One, they use their data to connect. Okay. Two, in the province, it's not like probably in Manila, where connection probably is everywhere.
Right.
But in here in the province, there are some spots that are that are off, or that are dead, right? So,
Right.
there are even students that you see, if when they attend my class, for example, they are beside in their backyard, because they have to go out of the house, because
Right.
it's easy to get connection. Or some others, doon ako natawa. Oh, sorry, if I may speak Tagalog, siguro pwede. Doon ako natawa, Bryce, na meron pa sa tabi ng sa may highway, because they're
Right.
there. Although I've seen that also on some blocks of the Department of Education, some teachers going to the field, going to the streets, just to get the connection, just to catch internet connectivity.
Right.
But I guess our students also are like that, because many of them are also deaf teachers.
Right.
So what we did was, I remember that we have a partner with the NSW in their base in South Korea. They developed some platforms, learning management systems. When I was a chancellor, we signed an agreement that we would be supporting each other. So because we have an IT, we have the College of Information Technology that they did partner, and then they offered us their learning management system, the platform that we can upload, and then we can also have some video conferencing. So instead of using the Google Classroom, which many did, right?
Right.
We wanted the graduate school wanted to be more formal about it.
Right.
In a manner, also me as the dean can monitor the activities of the professors, because being an administrator, you can check whether they're uploading their lessons, they were meeting their classes, even students' time for reading the lessons could be monitored in there. mean, all you have to do is to just download the history of the particular class, then you can see everything. So I was so happy because we were partnered with the very good company that developed these things. And up to this time, for the third semester already, you know, they're giving it for us for free, probably out of gratitude. Mga ganon. So siguro, doon namin, nakita ko na rin, doon na naawa kami sa, we treated our students because they don't have that one. So if they're not attending classes virtually, then they can just download it from the UDL cloud. So they can have the advanced reading, or you can those delivered by professors before, they can read it after, when they have the time. So you become flexible in that matter. Although they said we will beat them online. But we cannot impose really 100% that you have to be attending every meeting because of these reasons.
The way you approach the delivery, you mentioned about asynchronous and the online and the offline kind of learning, right? Asynchronous and the synchronous learning.
Yes.
Do you see your teachers from the graduate school facing up with the challenge or braving up to the challenge of them developing their own content and putting out something to contribute in the content development kind of thing? Did you
Yes,
see
of
that
course.
like a rigor in like they wanted now to be teachers, like a YouTube teacher teaching students in the way they can learn anytime?
Yes, Bryce. Actually, even the teachers complained it was difficult. I myself complained. In the normal classes before, I prepare my slides, no more than 10 slides, right? Then I use that for 3-hour period. Because I could discuss. Because if you're a teacher, right, you just, particularly in the graduate school, you just don't call student because ayaw mo siyang mapahiya if you can answer, right? Because it's professional, they're professionals, right? So you see the reaction by their eyes. So if they're ready to answer, probably I point at them to the answer. So the less than 10 slides, I could use it for 3 hours already for discussion. However, when we shifted to the online thing, oh my goodness, I only use that for a few minutes. It's not even an hour because nobody is responding to me, and sometimes their camera is also off.
Right.
I don't even know if they're responding to me. So the next time I was doing my slide, I was doing more than 20 so that I could fill in the 3-hour lecture. It was challenging. So the teachers also felt that way. But over the days, over the months that we've been, we don't have a choice. As I've said, we have to be responsive. We have to embrace it. So what happened now is some of our teachers have to, has to buy their own gadgets. Like for example, the ring light, so they can, video it in one corner of the school and then upload it in the YouTube or send it directly to the UBL cloud for students to listen. And some others also become, we have to be innovative on our ways in delivering. Although, as I've said, right, we are not very young to really adapt fully to this kind of system, but we are trying to, we're embracing it. And so far, unlike the first time that there are so many complaints that I received from the professors, but this time, I guess, it's going smooth with the aid of the, as I've said, the UBL cloud developed by our partner in South Korea. I guess we're going smoothly. I've yet to hear this semester because we're going to open classes tomorrow, Saturday. There are some new professors that we invited to teach in the graduate school. They will be trained to use the UBL also. Hopefully, right, I would receive less complaints about it. Mahirap kasi, it's difficult also for an administrator when problems come along and, technology is the answer, and I cannot really express how to do it because I'm not really a technology person, but trying to embrace it, trying to adapt it, and I'm learning quite well from our friends from the information technology department saying this. I could upload my lessons already. I could video myself and then teaching it, as
Right.
well as a lot of things I could do.
Yeah. I like that you mentioned responsive, like how should we all behave right now? Now that this change came, it's a live drill, right? It's a live drill. It's a real-time drill. It's like you were drilling for an earthquake just happened, something like that, right? This is how this pandemic really, treated every 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 industry. It's not just the education industry, but all the industries for that matter. So it's good that the the way to behave is to be responsive, not to be reactive, right? Um, there had been geniuses that were born because of the pandemic, because of how the difficulty um, polished our gems inside. It's like the pearl, because of the pressure, then a pearl came out. Everything. So that the test through the fire kind of thing really happened for education, I think, which is now giving us the gem. So because we were responsive more than reactive. I like that. Okay.
Actually, Bryce, this particular thing that we are doing at the graduate school, like, it may not be new, totally new to us, because sometime when in 2010, when my first time to be the dean of the graduate school,
Mm-hmm.
we had this program called Technology Enabled Instruction.
Right.
This is actually offered Technology Enabled Instruction. This is offered to our overseas Filipino contract workers, so they can receive our programs there.
Right.
However, what we're doing before is we send them in their email some notes, modules,
Mm-hmm.
lectures, and then we meet them through Skype. I don't know
Oh,
if
Skype.
Skype is still,
I haven't heard
ginagamit.
about Skype right now. I don't know, right?
Yeah,
But I
that's
used
actually what we're
Skype many years
doing.
ago. Yes, yes.
So whenever they come home for vacation from abroad, say for example, coming from Saudi, coming from
Oh,
Thailand, they come home, we require them to stay in school for at least 2 weeks to reinforce what were delivered to them through Skype and the email.
okay.
So it was not totally new to us. But as I've said, going full swing on online, that was actually the resentment first.
Right.
Um, yeah, you feel that I felt the resentment, of course. But then the good thing about these professors in the graduate school, because they are trained to be, as I mentioned, that they have to be responsive, they have to be adaptive, because we are supposed to be in the apex of the university, being in the graduate school, right?
Right. Right.
So I said, do not complain, right? And just follow, and then adopt it, and then learn the technology. So that's actually what we're doing. I myself am learning the technology.
Mm-hmm.
Although there are still a lot of things that I should learn, right? Probably given the time I will, but not all at the same time. But
Yes.
eventually, when, say, for example, schools shift to uh, the alternate blended things, then probably
Mm-hmm.
I would be more, reverse to this.
Right. Doc. I would just like to recognize our viewers. We have um, viewers coming from Zamboanga, right? As far as Zamboanga, Miss Taina Yambao, thank you so much for tuning in. We also have Miss Dr. Patricia Bahian, thank you so much for being here. And also Miss Rose Bukat, Manawis, and a lot more from different places in the country. So thank you so much for listening into this heart-to-heart conversation. I am with Dr. Paulito Nisperos. He is currently the Dean of the Graduate School of the Don Mariano Memorial State University and a former Chancellor of that same university. And we got him here because I needed him to help us with our reflections on what COVID taught us about strengthening our educational system. So this is what this conversation is all about. If you just tuned in right now, this is the ongoing reflection that we're having in a form of a little cool kind of conversation. Doc Lito,
Yes, yes, Bryce.
in an overall view, from the macro point of view, you having been in this educational system, having worked as a teacher up the ranks, do you now see a renaissance of our education? Is this another renaissance in education? Is this it?
Yes, Bryce. Despite the alarming condition that is happening nowadays, educational institutions from around the globe cannot afford to have an academic freeze or not to continue the educational delivery this school year or the next years to come, or next school years to come, or ahead rather, which many, especially in our country, marks the birth of the various paradigm shifts in education. And this is done as, I don't know if I have the right to say this, the birth of the new term, new normal education. Now, if it is so, then this new normal education that we use out of the use of digital technology plays a big role to ensure that the say essential sectors continue to run their transactions. Like for example, in the government, right? Now, in the same way with the schools, that we need these things. The university schools or colleges and universities are actually scrambling to enable digital and technical infrastructure support, whatever form of virtual learning that any school or university may likely to adopt. As I said a while back, the present time challenges us, and that we need to face that with grace. As educators, this is what we were prepared for. This is the time that we apply the learnings that we had experienced or we had gone through over the years, as well as the vision that what we have for education.
Right.
There's no way around to it but to go through it. I mean, directly hit it, right? Or respond to these challenges with wisdom, weighing the odds and ends, and picking the best right option. I don't know if I hope I get it right in there.
Right. But true. The revival of a new way of thinking, I think, or new way of doing. Right. We learned by doing it.
Because we learn the art of doing something different using the technology.
Yes, the technology. And the technology has been there. It's just that we haven't really taken advantage of it or maybe applied it in the way we do things because there was no need at that particular time. But it's just an imposing demand right now that, hey, we need technology in order for us to get on with our lives, at least for the students.
Prior, they were telling about technology's innovation.
Right.
But actually, it's not, because the technology is constant, it's there. So you're not innovating it anymore because technology is really within us already. It's just a matter of, enhancing it, improving, or, putting a lot of some more extensions probably. I don't know the term for that. Additional things.
Maximizing its advantage, actually.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. Okay, I agree. In whatever way, there's a revival of the way we approach things, I think. And hopefully, even the way we develop our content right now, I hope we're now looking at, because of course, our mission at Hero, Doc Lito, is always on the mission employability. So I've asked myself as well, what are the pandemic resilient careers? What are the pandemic resilient programs or skills, right? That we have to start looking at or considering. We have to start considering at this time of pandemic, because this is the first of many. I'm not praying, I'm not wishing that we'll be having this, but once it started, we know it's like typhoon. They come in droves sometimes. So it's better to expect the worst in that sense, so that we will be more equipped and prepared, right? So I think we just have to embrace it tightly and maximize the need for it, right?
Yes, Bryce. Tama po kayo.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You have to be flexible, really, and accept it, embrace it with grace.
Yes.
Just like a Miss Universe thing, right?
Correct. That's true. But at least now we're smiling. Maybe if I've invited you to do this just 2 months after the lockdown, I may have, received a no right away just because we're not ready to talk about anything at that
I'm not
time.
very serious by then.
Yes.
At that time, because I'm not really probably ready yet.
Right,
I have not, totally implemented in the university,
right.
in our particular in the graduate school. Pero, this time we just laugh at it because this is the thing. And then we look forward to meeting our students again
Right.
inside the classroom. But we definitely there will be some changes still. Like for example, we learned a lot from this pandemic. That say for example, the spread of the COVID is just few minutes or seconds, right? So probably we have to ready the classroom still, right? Even if we alternately use virtual classrooms, once they would be allowing us to be, allowing our students to go back to schools, I guess we would be cautious, definitely, right? As well as conscious
Right.
of the health of our faculty, our professors, and that of our students, vice versa, because we cannot just compromise them.
Right.
These are the conditions, really. Although, yeah, we started re-engineering restructuring, rather not re-engineering, restructuring our classrooms
Okay.
in such a way students will still be, physically distant, even if the vaccines has arrived already, even they say that it's safe, and but probably that would be the learning thing that we have from this thing. We have to be conscious and cautious about things that we have, and we have to be really very clean.
The basics are back, right? Wash your hands before you eat. Make sure that you practice perfect sanitation, perfect all of these things. These are
You know what?
basics.
When we were elementary, when we were kids, our teacher, usually, would spank our hand if we're not going to wash our hands because in our schools there are a lot of washing areas. However, probably because times have changed. Now some schools have lessened the wash areas in the schools, and now if probably right one of the projects, even in our university, is
Right.
to put up a lot of wash area, right, so that anybody would just be passing to wash their hands.
True. So
Basics, sabi mo
the
nga.
basics, yeah, the basics are really the most important, especially when all of this hygiene, all of this sanitation kind of thing that we do. Anyway, Doc,
Yes,
this is a question that I know will intrigue you, but I need to ask it anyway. If you were given a role to critique the education system for how it is today, what would be in your synopsis?
One, how do I approach that one?
Okay.
Let's say, for example,
No worries.
anyway, sige,
You're assigned to
let's take a look
critique
at what
anyway.
the Department of
Right.
Education doing. Really, they're preparing. They have adapted also to the conditions of their pupils, or their students, right? So we love also, although I'm not totally sold to the what they're doing, right? Like for example, the modules, the teachers going to the
Why not?
area.
Why not, Doc? Why not? Why are you not
Um,
completely sold to that?
As I've said, Bryce, who's going to supervise the kids? Not all parents are I apologize for saying this. Not all parents would understand the basics of teaching their kids.
Right.
Who suffers most therefore? The kids themselves, because no one would teach them. On the
And
other hand, also there are some parents. I would speak from how I observe my friends. They were the one making modules
I
because
was
they don't
just
like
about
the
to say that.
kids,
Right,
right? To get
right.
zero. And
True.
Department of Education, Dr. Leonor Briones, right, or the administration should, find ways. I'm just speaking my thought, right? Find other ways and means, probably to, still put the teacher in between that corner, right, in that particular division, because solely giving them the module and let the kid understand it, and then now the parents guiding them. As I've said, not all parents are learned or
Right.
are educated to, teach their kids. It's lamenting actually, right? The state that we are in. Although as I said, I recognize, I laud the efforts of the two institutions, the Commission on Higher Education and that of the Department of Education. We're still continuing despite these challenges, right? Trying to find ways to deliver education because education should not stop.
Mm-hmm.
But probably part of it, right? As I've said earlier, we were caught off guard
Right.
on this particular issue. That's why we were not able to really plan. Unlike, for example, if a school intends to go online in the future, set aside the pandemic, for example, and we plan to go full online, right? Then there is planning what to do, even the distance education, the offshore education, mga ganon.
Right.
We did plan, right? But this situation we didn't. That's why it's difficult, and I would say it's not effective
Mm-hmm.
because probably lack of supervision, the professional supervision, also with the teacher. But given the situation, can we do other things? I would say yes, right? It could have been if, say, for example, we have invested in connectivity. For example, the LGUs have invested in connectivity even, just like, for example, when you go to Singapore, right?
Right.
The last time we were there, you can access internet anywhere, right? I mean, it's a fast and reliable, and all you have to do is to connect. But here, if we only have that particular preparation also, then I guess delivering instruction lessons would be more effective because even if there are some other mediums rather that we are using, teachers are using, uploading in the YouTube. They have also TV channels, right? The data channels. Some others, probably other big schools have developed a better online platform or learning management platform. But these are limited to those who are able to, the capacity to do that. But in general, right? We still see the sad plight of many students struggling. Take the cases of those who committed suicide. If you read the news, right? Because students could not contain the bulk of the pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Simply because during the first time, if I may say this, this is just my analogy. Because teachers were also not prepared that time. They give a lot of readings.
Mm-hmm.
They give a lot of assignment. They give a lot of the supposed to be tasks of the teacher were given double to the students. So the students can no longer cope as what we have read in the newspaper. Somewhere in Cebu, somewhere in Visayas, right? I don't know if we have here in our province. I have yet to hear. They committed suicide, quote unquote, right? Because they could not cope with it. And I would not. I could. You probably go back to the schools. What have we done, right? As administrators to the schools, did we really move out of our way, reach out to the students, know their situation. And the other hand, also, did we train our teachers? Did we put psychology in putting in giving those different modules, the bulk of lesson, the bulk of assignment to the students? I mean, such things, Bryce. There are a lot of issues definitely that you can see on this one.
So you would say that there's an inefficiency in the way things are being done?
Not actually inefficiency, that we are, in a way, you cannot label it as inefficiency, right? But probably our inability really to give the full support, technology support, all other things. Although there are some LGUs, right, that I read on the Twitter, like for example, I'm following kasi sa Taguig, si Mayor Vico Soto.
Right.
I'm following I don't know why I'm following him on Twitter, right? But then I see his programs in education. Like for example, this is the first batch of the laptops that are be given. This is the Wi-Fi
Right.
box or something that they're giving to the constituency, particularly to the underprivileged, so they could connect, right?
Right.
So kasi ang gusto niya yata is something like online pa rin, just like the teacher is in front of the student or in front of the pupil, or something like that. But as I've said, not all are privileged to have that, and that is actually where I'm coming from. Like I'm telling, I'm lamenting on the plight of these children, these kids, these students, these pupils, right? Because they are not really connecting, which resorted to committing suicides,
Right.
or even dropping from school.
Right. Sure. I agree with you, Doc. I totally agree with you. I believe, yeah, there could have, we could still do more, right? Something can be done better, right? I think that's where we are, and in terms of how we are seeing things, right? From the get-go, we still need to communicate more, right? The agencies and even interagencies, there should be more communication, and there should be a feedback system as well, because that is very important. When we have the feedback, then we can respond better, at least when we roll out for the second time. I think that's good.
Yes, guys. That would probably this education agencies that would the Deputy and the Commission on Higher Education probably an social relief, right? If, say, for example, in the Department of Education, did these feedback mechanisms, probably there is, but I just speak from what I read on the newspapers, from the Twitter. Students are hard out with coping with the demand of online learning or school-based learning, if you say that one, because it's not actually online for the Department of Education because they use the module.
Right.
So that's schooling from home, right? Parang ganon.
Yeah, I understand. I was kind of intrigued. I started reading about the phenomenon-based education of UK, the FENU bill. I don't know if you've seen that phenomenon-based education, phenomenon-based learning, FENU bill. That's how they call it, right?
So what about its
UK.
price?
Well, it's a level of the level of education maturity is definitely um, uh, being subscribed, right? It's not it's like preparing the home first, preparing the modality and the kind of acceptance of whatever lesson, and it's very relevant to the times. So the content, the way the things are delivered, it's very relevant to the times. They did not cling on to the internet. If there's no internet, then nothing is happening, or things are problematic. They didn't. They had to like cultivate the method, like, okay, so there's this kind of system going on, so whether there's net or no net or whatever, then that concept, the finable concept, can work for you, right? So it's good that they work under that. The same thing with the Waldorf education, for example. We do not rely, my girls are Waldorf educated, so we do not rely on the internet. What they've done is they help me prepare my home to be a Waldorf home. Right, so that's what they've done. So I went through a 5 Friday series sessions as a mom. So I was told what to do. I mean, I was not told. I was trained, and I was asked to agree if or disagree. However, I'd like to implement things, and that's it. So I'm more ready to face up the challenge because I was trained. There was a preparation for me as a mom. So I appreciated how things unfolded because of my preparation. And I have twins now. So and we're not into they never use the internet. They never use anything to teach them for the last when we started like September until now. There was never an exposure in the internet. But I can tell you, they're learning as much, right? They're learning as much. But
That's a good concept.
Waldorf education has been here in the world for so many years already. It's a
But
non-traditional.
it was not actually abused.
Right, but it's actually a non-traditional way of teaching. So maybe my point is maybe there are still ways that we haven't explored. There are still systems out there, available systems out there that that could be explored, where we can kind of get some inspiration and reflection, and then eventually it can help us form how things happen. So that's the thing. There are ways really, rather than putting it all and letting say internet to run our lives. If there's no net, then there's no classes, there's no delivery of all of these lessons, things like that. There could be other ways we can do still to make
Yes,
sure.
right. You're very right. I guess
Right.
that's actually what you're supposed to be doing, right? There should be preparation ready for the future.
Right.
In case the vaccine, even if there's a vaccine already, right? If the
Right.
vaccine is not effective, right? Because we haven't seen the effect of the vaccine, whether how many
Yeah.
times we're going to be vaccinated. So we have to be prepared, really, that since we don't have the infrastructure for technology, like, for example, internet connectivity, then I guess what you're saying about the world of system could probably work for for our basic education, for the tertiary education, or even us in the graduate program. So we could, well, I mean, let's explore that one.
Right. I also remember, Doc, I was asked to be a consultant of one company for Malaysia many years ago. And their problem in that community is they have a lot of non-readers, grade 3, because grade 3 must be readers, right? Based on law. But in that country, in Malaysia, for example, and in that particular region, there had been a lot of non-readers. So there's an effort from the government and some private sectors to work out something. And I got into this organization. I was contracted as a consultant for, I think, 3 or 4 months. And what we did is we launched a project called BASA, right? I was part of the group, a small group of consultants who actually designed a way for the government to incentivize, to put some incentives. So the mothers basically are incentivized when they teach their kids to read. Because of course the number one reason is I cannot be a teacher to my, or tutor to my kids because
Yes.
I'm working. So what happens to the food on the table, kind of thing. So the government had to solve that. They have to incentivize them enough to say it could be more, you could earn more by teaching your kids rather than just working, doing the usual work that you do. So that worked. I am not too sure, but how many months, maybe a year or something, but they saw the goal has been achieved. They saw a dramatic change in the readership of the students for that particular region. So they called it the BASA at that time for this organization. And I've seen that, and I saw, wow, so that can happen. There's a way, rather than saying that put them all in school, etc., etc. It started with the home. So I have that kind of reflection. Maybe if we explore some more, then maybe we can really improve for the better, right?
I think those are alternatives,
Yes.
Bryce,
Yes.
for incentivizing parents, because they complain. That's why they probably the first question about, like, are schools dying, or are we seeing the death of schools? Because those are the, as I said, complaints from parents, because they themselves are teaching their kids.
That's right. That's right. But we really have to, maybe just a mindset reset, we call it, right? Mindset
Yes.
reset, if we have that. I'm
Yes,
not
right.
saying that everybody should, but it's good to try it. If you have a mindset reset that, if education is so important to us, then maybe we have to be actively participating given this particular time, right? So
As I've said earlier, you have to be embracing it, right?
Yeah.
You have to be embracing it. You have to be, putting it into your system that this is the new way,
Right.
right? Even if you are used to the old system, but there's nothing wrong if we take in something, right, and blend it with what we learn and
True.
what we have, and
Agree.
then find art in it, the renaissance of the of education.
Yes, Doc. I truly agree with you. Doc, in in this conversation, there are chancellors, former chancellors maybe, or deans of graduate schools listening to us, watching us, or will watch us later. What's the piece of advice you can perhaps share in order for them to like remember this conversation we're having right now? What can you advise to somebody like you in the same position that you're in?
Oh my goodness, no, me advising the other chancellors. Well, if I may speak, right, in my mind before when I was still a chancellor, and probably blended with what I'm doing now because I'm about to retire from service. We're just waiting for the in the government. You have to serve at least 35 years and then you get something right from the government. Well, anyway, here's it. Um, Innovation is actually is the in thing, right? Several years ago, but this time it's not more of that. Probably it's more flexibility. You have to be flexible, right, in your design of your the infrastructure of your classroom. Second, the infrastructure of technology, and the third, of course, the infrastructure of the curriculum. Um, check the curriculum. Like for example, the on the job training definitely that's out of the picture anyway because you look at senior students. So probably it's about time that with school administrators, chancellors themselves should initiate the revision of their curriculum, a revolution of the curriculum, and looking into the blending of these things and how these particular issues or particular segments uh, uh, of the core courses, right, could be blending with the use of technology so that it be properly transmitted so that learning, the transfer of learning would be more effective and the ratio would be a bit higher or higher at that. They have to be more, sensitive in their decisions, in dealing with the faculty, because faculty themselves are also stressed with being quarantined or being restricted in their movement.
Right.
Who is not actually right?
Right.
At first, I
We
was
all
enjoying
are.
this. I was on vacation. I'm receiving a salary. But a week after, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I'm at home. But I did a lot already. The psychological thing there, right? About the end teacher and how much more to the students, not seeing their friends, not seeing the teachers, and then they are schooling at home. So I guess the administrators, chancellors themselves have been more sensitive to the plight of both, right,
Right.
teachers and students, so that in the decision making, it would be more, empathy should be there. What else? I guess those are the things. I cannot name these things that they should be doing, right? Because administration per se is special. Administration per se should be fitting to the situation, just like the bolt and the nut theory. Not all nut bolts with not all nut fits to the bolt. So it should be what is good for one area or one school should not be copied and adopted because the situation may be very different.
Right.
The situation in Singapore is different from the situation in the Philippines. So
Exactly.
we just do not just copy what they're doing there, but and then apply it here. What we should do is to really understand the predicament, our systems, our culture, even blended culture,
Right.
and then from there, the decisions of administration should emanate from there. Should be rooted from coming from the heart. Administrators should have that thing. I mean, a genuine look for the welfare of education in general
Right.
and their constituents and students in particular.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you so much for allowing me this conversation, allowing me to speak to you, and for us to have this kind of heart to heart conversation for the sake of the future of education and for the sake of learning what this COVID had taught us about strengthening our education system. So
My
thank you
pleasure,
so much,
guys.
Doc. Thank you so much, Doc. One more segment for our Hero Ed TV is a featured inspiration. And right now, I'd like to introduce, I know her name came out. Her name came out because of her poetry and her poetry being shared during the inauguration. I am referring to Amanda Gorman. She's a 22 years old American poet and activist from Los Angeles. Her work focuses on issues of oppression, feminism, race, and marginalization, as well as the African diaspora. At the age of 16, this beautiful girl was named as the Youth Poet Laureate of Los Angeles. And in 2017, she was named the first U.S. National Youth Poet Laureate. She also published the poetry book, The One From Whom Food Is Not Enough, in 2015. And in 2021, she delivered her poem, The Hill We Climb, at the inauguration of the new U.S. President, Mr. Joe Biden. I am sharing her with everyone at Hero Ed TV because I'd like all of us to be reminded, educators, that this is the kind of students we are educating right now. Please watch this.
I thought I'd awaken to a world in mourning, heavy clouds crowding a society storming, but there's something different on this golden morning, something magical in the sunlight's wide and warming. I see a dad with a stroller taking a jog across the street. A bright-eyed girl chases her dog. A grandma on a porch fingers her rosaries. She grins as her young neighbor brings her groceries. While we might feel small, separate, and all alone, or people have never been more closely tethered, the question isn't if we will weather this unknown, but how we will weather this unknown together. So on this meaningful morn, we mourn and we mend like lights. We can't be broken even when we bend. As one, we will defeat both despair and disease. We stand with healthcare heroes and all employees, with families, libraries, schools, waiters, artists, businesses, restaurants, and hospitals hit hardest. We ignite not in the lights, but in the lack thereof. For it is in loss that we truly learn to love. In this chaos, we will discover clarity. In suffering, we must find solidarity. For it's our grief that gives us our gratitude, shows us how to find hope if we ever lose it. So ensure this ache wasn't endured in vain. Do not ignore the pain. Give it purpose. Use it. Read children's books, dance alone to DJ music. Know that this distance will make our hearts grow fonder. From a wave of woes, our world will emerge stronger. We'll observe how the burdens braved by humankind are also the moments that make us humans kind. Let every dawn find us courageous, brought closer, heeding the light before the fight is over. When this ends, we'll smile sweetly, finally seeing. In testing times, we became the best of beings.
That was it, ladies and gentlemen. We are just grateful for your time, for paying us again with your time today. We do the Hero Ed TV show every Friday, 3 p.m. You please be with us again and invite your friends. Our only intention is to create a platform where everyone from the education group, from the education community thrive together. That's all we wanted to do. So hopefully this conversation with Dr. Paulito Nisperos had helped us reflect, had helped us see ourselves, and maybe you've also answered the questions I've asked personally. And for whatever opinion and reflection you had, please share it if you can, and if you cannot, at least use it to inspire the community that you are in. My name is Bryce Fabro. I am the chair and founder of Hero Summit. It has been a pleasure to enjoy this afternoon with everyone. See you again next Friday for another heart-to-heart conversation with our featured hero in education. Thank you and good afternoon.